Hi guys, and welcome to a battle between Chosen One up against Le Saint Brioche de Tours. Probably completely messed his name up there, but very fancy name indeed. Chosen One going to be in charge of the Wood Elves up against the mighty forces of the Empire, which should be some definite good fun. So I'm going to slow this battle down at the start to go through the armies, because Chosen One sent me this video in especially because of a video I did about a week ago, perhaps it was slightly earlier in the week, of my top 5 underrated Wood Elf units, and he has brought all 5 of them, which is pretty damn exciting. But for the front line, we do have a couple units of Eternal Guard, backed up by some Dryads. But now we're going to be getting into the rest of his army, which is those units. So we have some Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts in the back line, good long-range damage dealers overall, consistent firepower throughout a fight. In the front line, we have Traken, the absolute roadblock unit, and saturated with those guys is the War Dancers. And I personally think this is the best way to use War Dancers. You allow the Traken to absorb the charge, absorb the damage, and then these ladies come in with their very fancy attacks and start tearing apart lightly armoured infantry and so forth. We have a mighty tree man as well, going to be working as a bit of an anchor in this main line, trying to hold it back while the rest of his army really does some consistent damage. And for the rest of the army, we do have 2 units of Way Watchers in the front line, quite a competitive pick. No chevrons on these guys, but that is not needed. They do some very long range, huge burst damage. Up in the sky, we have the Glade Lady, of course, coming in with her net right here. Coming in with the Prey of Enough Rama, minus 22% missile resistance, and stopping people from moving. Arrows of Kurnos, all that good stuff. We also have a Spell Singer of Life up on an Eagle as well, bringing that Power Stone of Blood. And no way, he's also bringing the Dwellers Below. We're going to be trying to catch that if that is performed at some point during the battle. Not a spell you see too often, does some pretty decent damage, and also lowers speed. And over in the left-hand side here, the last person on our list for the top 5 underused units is the Waystalker, once again coming in with Arrows of Kurnos. So if the Empire have come with any cannons or so forth, I highly expect both of those arrows to go off relatively quickly. As the Empire forces, however, we have a large mixture of swordsmen in a particularly strange formation. I suppose going quite checkerboard. So just a ton of swordsmen along the front line, backed up by some great swords and some spearmen with shields as well. Going to be trying to push forward and grind out the Wood Elves by the looks of it. Of course, all the swordsmen coming in with their shields, trying to soak up any firepower. For the hero core, we have a light wizard in the back line with a net and fast protection, as well as a banishment, and leading the charge on his horse, Boris Todbringer, a particularly weird pick here. Very fancy hat, though. I never realised quite how awesome his helm is, with the nice cast and so forth. Normally you see him on top of his griffin, but he's going to be riding that beautifully barded warhorse there, going to be coming in and trying to smite some foes in the name of the Empire. Over on the right-hand flank, we have a much more quick-moving cavalry corps with a couple of units of Outriders or grenade launchers. I actually quite like these guys quite a lot. I think they're underrated for the Empire, so it'll be interesting to see how they perform. We'll do very good damage up against the kind of infantry of the Wood Elves if they're allowed to shoot into it. We have the Black Lions, the regiment-renowned war wagon Hellblast. It can do some really good damage if allowed to. Pretty protected. It's quite squishy on its own. We also have some Demigryph Knights of Halberds and another unit of Demigryph Knights of Halberds, perhaps expecting some Treemen and so forth. And you can already see those Arrows of Kurnos coming in and doing huge burst damage as we get this battle underway. Poor little wagon crew, looks like they're waving their fists in anger there, but I expect to see a second Arrows of Kurnos come in, and there it does. Already bringing these guys down to below half health, and that is why I think the Waystalker has such good utility and synergy with the Glade Lady. We do have a net coming down on these Demigryphs, and in come the first few volleys from the Way Watchers, tearing these guys apart. One volley there, getting these guys down to nearly half health, showing that you don't always need to bring 3 of these guys. 2 can certainly do some damage. And bam, 2 volleys in, and these guys are absolutely decimated. Looks like the Black Lions roaring and getting a few shots up on the Glade Lady, but very nice play by Chosen One here, ducking and weaving left and right to avoid as many shots as possible. And 1 unit of Demigryph Knights is already off the field. These Outriders and other Demigryph Knights need to start getting aggressive and putting pressure on these guys. There's not too much protection on this left-hand flank for the Wood Elves, except the 2 Eagles. But it looks like his main forces are starting to engage, and let's get in there and see some of these awesome War Dancers attacks. We're doing some pretty cool spins, nice little slashes as well, cutting up the swordsmen. With the help of the Treekin, they should be able to do a pretty decent job. Treeman also flooding into this main blood fight, and Eternal Guard and Dryads being used very well here to ensure that no one overruns and gets into the back line on top of these Glade Guard Starfire Shafts, who are now going to start firing in, helping turning the engagement more and more in favour of the Wood Elves. Now over on this left-hand side, Way Watchers feeling confident enough to push up once again, and are starting to nuke the next unit of Demigryph Knights. These guys seriously need to get moving here. There is no point standing here taking shots. Need to start getting aggressive with them. Glade Lord, though, is flying over top, probably waiting to net those guys in case they do decide to push. And Outriders trying to protect the black lines, but once again need to move forward. So we have a nice banishment coming down in his head, and it looks like they've managed to actually wreck the War Dancers quite heavily here. Only 27 kills on those ladies, not too bad, and it has allowed the Treekin to hold the line, but in comes the Tree Man, going to be trying to stomp down some of these poor state troops. They're just here for a good time, they weren't here to mess around with all those magic trees and so forth, and they are starting to get a little bit annihilated. And oh, we're going to see a Dwellers below, please. Please, this surely is Dwellers. Boom, there we go, as the roots of the old world surge upwards to swing their brutal arms at the swordsman, ripping them limb from limb. Doing some pretty decent damage on this big blob and slowing these guys down as well, which is the most important bit there. And it looks like the Empire player is actually going to call it there, so a bit early, but in the back line we can see the Light Wizard was caught here by the Spellslinger and Eagle. Really nice snipe there by Chosen and the Wood Elves, and the front line is starting to go quite poorly. There was nothing left speed-wise. Looks like the War Wagons have been driven off, as well as the Cav, and I think that was pretty much certainly game. But let's go to the end stats there and do a little bit of a breakdown. So once again, massive shout out for Chosen One to accepting the challenge of using 5 units that I thought were slightly underrated. I didn't mean they were bad in any way. I saw a lot of people commenting, oh no, I think they're really good in this way and that way. And I 100% agree. These were just units that I personally hadn't seen that often on ladder. I don't think I've ever faced War Dancers. Even though a few people were mentioning that they quite like bringing them, and I agree, I think they can certainly do some decent damage. Now, what he did with this build here, he didn't just take those units, because I think that would be a poor decision, but he instead has saturated them in with some more competitive picks. So I still like the use of Way Watchers, bringing those guys in, as you can see, did chevron up, and I think it's fair to say they did the majority of the damage here. Wiping out both Demigryph Knights, plus driving off the Outriders is huge, incredible value. But the rest of his army held up the enemy and still got the job done. Nice sniping as well with the Arrows of Kurnos to start off with, and I think the Empire just needed to get far more aggressive there, push back those Way Watchers. There wasn't too much protecting them, charge them with both the units of Demigryphs there, and what are the Wood Elves realistically going to do? Pop down with their Glade Lady? I don't think so. She would get absolutely torn apart, but he certainly needs to be a little bit more aggressive there, but still, good game overall, and massive thank you for Chosen One for sending that one in. So if you guys do want to see your replays on the channel, feel free to join my Discord. There's a link just down in the description below, and there's a little channel in there called like Replays for Casting. You can just simply pop them in there. Anyway guys, hope you did enjoy. Please do give a big old thumbs up if you did, and a subscribe if you like all Total War content. Probably no more streams for us this week. I'll be dropping a video hopefully Monday, and then we'll start streaming again on Wednesday. But until then guys, peace, and stay awesome.